Free agency, legal tampering. What positions are you tampering with?
Oh, I mean, we're tampering, obviously, with the wide receiver position, trying to get Calvin Ridley back. We're going to tamper a little bit with the center position as well, get an upgrade from Luke Fortner. And then, if you want to do a little bit of tampering too, just a little tease, if you will, get somebody in that secondary, more, the cornerback position more specifically. I'm all for tampering that as well.
Yeah. So I got to believe this is a modest. I always say this about free agency. You go splashing big, right? I mean, you go get the big ones, the Calais Campbells of the world, the Malik Jacksons of the world, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jags did that a couple years ago. They spent, I think, $170 million or something. I saw a tweet, actually, yesterday. Jags have spent $1.1 billion in the last decade. Was it a decade or 3 years? In a time span. It was like top 10 in the league.
Okay.
And then there's another level where I call like moderate free agency, where you're just going to get some like a core special teamer or maybe a player here, a player there, and might be like a $5 to $6 million a year contract, or maybe 8 to 10, or an Ezra Cleveland-like deal. And then there's like the low level free agency where you're really doing nothing for the first few days, and you let like Thursday, Friday come around, see who's left, maybe the next week. I think the Jags are in that middle spot where I think they have enough to spend to be able to say, hey, we can go get a player or two that will impact us at the positions that you're talking about. So, I mean, you kind of agree. They can't go all in on free agency, but they're probably not all out either, right?
No, they can't be. I mean, yes, you have to pay Josh Allen, and that's going to be a big sum of money, but you still have a little more to play around with. So, yeah, I would expect, at least one or two guys to come in and contribute right away.
So 3 priority positions for you: center, receiver, and corner.
Yeah. And obviously, guard too if it's around for some depth purpose, but those are my big 3.
It's interesting. I want to go back to receiver. Now, you say receiver specifically for Calvin. If they don't get Calvin, do you still think they flirt with receiver in free agency?
Well, I mean, the way that it looks, there's no one to really else get, I mean, Gabe Davis, I would rather get a draft pick. I would rather draft high and get a wide receiver than Gabe Davis.
You would?
Yes. Because if you get Gabe Davis, are you replacing Zay Jones then? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to me,
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, it's kind of an
and you're probably going to overpay for a guy like Davis, right? I mean, that's the way free agency works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I agree with you on the Ridley front. Are they still trying to figure that out? They're trying to get that done. I mean,
I would hope so.
Is it a dead deal? Do you feel like it's a dead deal with Ridley?
I mean, yeah, I would feel differently if he was here for a while. He had a storied career here in Jacksonville. I would feel a lot differently. But he has no allegiance here. Like, yeah, he's around the Southeast, so okay, if you want to say that. But if I'm him and I'm a free agent for the very first time, I'm taking any and all offers, and I don't think Jacksonville's going to have enough to offer what he wants.
Yeah, we will get an idea how much he likes Jacksonville if for some reason like he does flirt with the market and ends up back here. I mean, again, that is the coup of all coups for me if they're able to pull that off. I feel like in my mind, I don't know if this is real life or not, that it's a done deal. It's dead. Like I feel like the Calvin Ridley losing a second-round pick, signing him before Monday, I just feel like it's – I mean, you might make a couple phone calls to keep it in play just in case he doesn't like what he gets in free agency, but I can't imagine they're doing that, which also speaks to me this, Austen, that I think Balky wasn't being that truthful when he said, we don't care about the second or third round pick. We'd like to have Calvin Ridley back. He said that last week at the Combine. Like, I think they do care about the second round pick.
Okay.
If they didn't care, then why not get a deal done? You've been telling us that you want to get it done.
Well, I mean, they have Josh Allen as well, though.
I know.
So.
But, I mean, you have the power right now to get a deal done with Ridley if you really want him back. That's my point.
Listen, but, like, Ridley's not going to want to do a deal right now.
Yeah, well,
there's no way. Like, Trent Baalke could be blowing up Calvin Ridley's phone every single day, meeting in his office. Calvin Ridley's got to play ball.
Yeah.
And listen, wishful thinking, I wish Calvin Ridley would play ball. But I don't blame him.
No, I don't either.
Go be a free agent.
Well, I've said this all along. They have a lot of leverage.
Yeah, go get as much money as you want, man, because, you've earned it. You're a free agent now. Go do whatever you want to do. So, to me, it's not necessarily like, they don't want to bring him back or the deal's dead. I just think like he's on to bigger and better things. And once again, this is why I was so adamant about you had to shore up the Josh Allen deal before the franchise tag became relevant. Because once that happened, you lost all your power.
Well, here's the thing that I don't fully know, I guess, is what I'm getting at, is I'm not sure the Jags aren't getting the Ridley deal done because he doesn't want to play ball and go test the market, because they're not offering enough money, or because they really don't want to lose the second-round pick. You know what I mean? I think there could be a bull. Yeah, I get the Ridley side. I've been saying that for weeks. That's why I never thought he was coming back here. Why would you not use the leverage if you're his side? So that is certainly, it might be the most paramount. But I do still wonder on the Jags end, how aggressive are they being right now if they really want him back? How high are they willing to go? And again, back in the background, are they willing to give up that second-round pick? The more they think about this, the more they look at it, the receivers that are available in the draft. And I just can't get by that one more. I think the Jags could be aggressive if they want him back, if Trevor wants him back, if they want to put more around Trevor. Heck, they're running everything else back. I got to believe that they want Calvin Ridley back too. I really think they get stuck on that second-round pick and can't make it make sense to them.
That's baffling to me, though, then, because you're essentially saying, yeah, we want to keep our second-round pick, but we have no problem just giving away a third-round pick for nothing, for literally a one-year rental, for a one-year lease. Like, that's not good business. That's not how it's supposed to be. And like, I don't know, I guess you're expecting a lot more from Calvin Ridley. Maybe you wanted 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns where you could say, okay, then he'd be worth a second-round pick. But to sit here and say, you know what? We'll give up a third-round pick for a one-year rental. That's asinine. Like, you cannot win in the NFL like that unless you have a roster full of studs and you need one guy to come in right away and take you over the top. And the Jaguars, arguably, you could have said, were that, but nah. It wasn't. They weren't one Calvin Ridley away from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So to sit here and say, you know what? We'll wash our hands of that third-round pick for a one-year rental. No, man. Like, if you keep Calvin Ridley and you lose a second-round pick, at least you say, you know what? We invested. He's here a couple more years. So be it. That's the cost of doing business. I'm not trying to do business with somebody that gives up a third-round pick and you have one player for 1 year and then he's gone. That's not good business.
I understand that, and I think most people agree with you. I am not as bent on that part of it, and I don't know why. Honestly, like, I understand what you're saying. I felt like, I like when organizations sometimes gamble. I think this was a gamble. I think this was also kind of a low-risk, high-reward type of gamble. Like, I applauded the move when they traded for Ridley. There was a lot unknown. Hadn't played in a long time. What's he going to look like? You are giving up draft picks. You are potentially giving up even another draft pick. Like, I get all those things. Like, that was part of the risk. I like the reward part where the Jags offense was, adding another receiver to Trevor Lawrence, all those things. I put myself back in that spot, and I'm like, I really like the move. Really do. But I never really thought past the year to say, well, they got to keep him for 3 years to make this worth giving up the third-round pick. In my mind, I never went there. And I'm still not as bothered by it. This organization has done a lot of things that are goofy. They've done a lot of things that haven't worked. Gambling a little bit on this move at the cost of basically a third-round pick when you're going to get a compensatory pick too, to me wasn't that bad of a move, a bad business move.
Let me ask you this. With the offensive line, we're talking about vision and explanation. When they signed Calvin Ridley, what was your vision then? You just thought that, hey, bring him in for 1 year and that's it, and then he's done?
I did. I was thinking very short term on it.
Okay.
Now, I didn't, again, I don't think when we were talking about this, we did predictions like, is Ridley going to be here for 3 years, right? Is Ridley going to do this? I got excited about Ridley for 2023, and then we'll see.
Okay.
Oh, I really didn't get past that. And that's what I guess I'm talking about. And this, I think the bad business angle of this from your perspective, which I get it, and you're not alone. Like I said, I'm probably more minority.
That's a fact.
But did they do? You had compensatory pick. You have the compensatory pick in the third round. They knew they were losing Jawan Taylor, so it made it easier to swallow that as well because you were going to have a third. It's not like they're without a third round pick. You know what I mean?
But it's still a third round pick.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it. That's the gamble. Like, I don't mind my organization taking a gamble once in a while.
I like my organization. If you're going to invest in a third round pick, you get more than a year. That's what I want out of my organization.
Yeah, well, here's the other part of this, Austen. I'll say this. I think we have had this conversation. I think we just shared a little clip from it a couple of days ago. I think I like Calvin Ridley. I really do. I think he's a good player. I would love to see him back. I've said that. I would have given up the second-round pick. Don't care. Get him back. That's what I would do. Never thought it was going to happen, but I thought that's what I would do. That being said, I think here in town we have, at least in the last couple weeks, with his stock rising in this free agency period because of the signings of T. Higgins and Mike Evans and Pittman going back, I do feel like we've overvalued him a little bit here.
Okay.
And that's why we've had some of these conversations like, well, if they do go get a receiver in round 1 or 2, and that's a good player, then I really don't care about the third-round pick if you're able to find a replacement as a younger, cheaper, maybe even better option at that wide receiver. So I guess we just don't know the rest of the story yet. I think this is one of the stories that you can say it in the immediate, you can hammer it in the immediate, but I also think this has one that if they don't fix the wide receiver position in this fall, we're still talking like, why doesn't Trevor have enough weapons? This is one in hindsight that we absolutely obliterate. This whole thing.
Well, and this is where I'm coming from with, the third-round pick, it means something to me. That one-year rental means something to me. But once again, I just have Trevor Lawrence in mind right now.
Yeah, I get
all right?
you.
And that's all I'm concerned about. So once again, were him and Trevor on the same page all the time? Absolutely not. Does it take time to maybe acclimate, shake the rust off a little bit from sitting out so long if you're Calvin Ridley? I truly think so. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a second-round wide receiver from this draft class, or Calvin Ridley in a third-round wide receiver from this draft class?
Yeah, I would rather have Calvin in third.
Yeah. And I would as well, because I think in the third round, you can still get, having a bit of Keelan Coleman or something like that falls to you, I'd be jumping for joy.
Yeah, and maybe in that scenario, Austen, again, that's why I would give the second-round pickup and would have signed Ridley even a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't have mind doing that if you depend on how you thought you were going to get Josh's deal done or whatever. But then they probably would cut Zay Jones in that kind of case.
Well, no, he would be out then.
Yeah. And so you still are saving, but that means that's part of the business. You're saving a little money here, and you're getting this, and you're getting younger. See, I like the idea. Whether they keep Ridley or not of getting another receiver, because that means loading up for Trevor Lawrence.
That's what I'm saying. If you have, once again, another year of Calvin Ridley, you can get a guy like Keelan Coleman, and then you got Christian Kirk. I wouldn't be mad at that. I don't think Trevor would be mad at that. Like that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as many weapons as possible for Trevor Lawrence. Like that's all I'm concerned about.